Okay, so it is May, which means it is Mental Health Awareness Month, which means it's also Borderline Personality Disorder Awareness Month. And it is also, let's see, about 5 months since I got out of the hospital the first time I ever was hospitalized for mental health issues. I've had suicidal ideation, oh goodness, probably since I was 7 or 8. I've attempted to kill myself twice, and once when I was 11, once when I was 14. Like I said, I was only hospitalized for the first time back in January. I was there for 9 days, and I was hospitalized again last month. I guess I just wanted to talk about being borderline a little bit. I only got diagnosed last year, and it's something I feel like has fit me, oh God, since I was a child. I was always just diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and but I always felt like there was a missing piece. I felt like, you know, that can't be it. That's not enough. Like that's just, I don't know, it didn't fit. And I went to a counselor, did a lot of surveys, and finally got diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And at first it was a little daunting because the statistics are pretty scary. But after I got over that, I was really relieved. It was the first diagnosis I ever got where I was like, oh my gosh, this fits. This is me. Like, this explains so much. It's not an excuse for my behavior, but it's a reason, and it makes sense. And finally someone listened to me and understood what I was telling them. And it was a pretty amazing feeling. But, you know, with that awareness of my diagnosis, it's helped me become more self-aware. So in situations when I'm feeling low or I'm feeling manic, you know, I'm able to address that now. I have had a really hard time finding people willing to work with me in the area. Being non-binary trans and having borderline personality disorder has made it really difficult to find a counselor and to find a psychiatrist. I'm lucky enough to have insurance. I have the Obamacare Marketplace insurance. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield of South Carolina. And a lot of people accept that insurance. But when you call and you say, hey, I'm trans and I have borderline personality disorder and I'm looking for someone to work with me, you know, living in South Carolina in the area I do, a lot of times I would either get a response with, oh, I don't work with borderline people, I'm sorry. You know, that's just pretty extreme for me. I handle, you know, or maybe they'll say, oh, I only handle substance abuse, or I only handle adolescents, which I'm technically still an adolescent. I'm 21. But often the worst response and the most common response I get is, transgender? Yeah, I don't really, yeah, maybe someone else. I don't know. No one's educated about what being trans is, especially not being non-binary. And it was really difficult for me to find anyone. So that's the last time I went in the hospital. I had kind of given up hope. It was my last ditch effort to get some help. You know, when you make a call and someone calls back with, oh, we don't work with no transgenders here, like, it's pretty hard to hear when you're literally begging someone for help. So I was introduced to a counselor in the hospital. I have my first appointment with him tomorrow. I'm really nervous, but we had a chance to talk, and he seems pretty well educated about trans issues. He knows what non-binary is. He's worked with borderline patients before, so I'm really excited about that. He's associated with a psychiatrist, so I didn't even have to find a psychiatrist. There was one just like attached to him, so that's pretty great. Actually, it's a psychiatric nurse practitioner. She's been helpful so far. She actually listened to me and helped me adjust my meds. I'm hoping to make another video about my experiences in the hospital because it's always really traumatic to be in the hospital. And I kind of want to share that with some people who maybe haven't had that experience. But that's for another video. So I kind of want to wrap this up with something I realized while I was in the hospital. I was talking to someone who's a proponent of repealing/replacing Obamacare. And I kind of very bluntly put it, you know, I'd be dead if I didn't have Obamacare. And he kind of looked at me like, oh, what do you mean? Like, come on. And I was like, no, like I had the earned income tax, no, not earned income, the tax credit for not making enough money to pay for my own insurance. And so I still pay $90 a month for my premium, which some people can't even afford, but I'm lucky enough to be able to afford. And then I have a deductible of $250. So back in January, when I was in the hospital, that was the first time I had any medical care this year. I paid $250, and all my medical expenses since then, including prescription medication, has been covered. So I'm really fortunate to have a really great plan. When I was feeling suicidal this past time, I knew that I wouldn't have to pay anything if I went to the hospital. I already met my deductible. You know, everything was covered under my insurance. And so when I told him, you know, I'd be dead if I didn't have Obamacare, I meant it. And I meant it in a way that, you know, when I was in a position where I was willing to kill myself, wanting to kill myself, desired to kill myself, and the only thing that made it okay was knowing that I wouldn't have to pay to get help. The only reason I had my parents take me to the hospital was because I knew I wouldn't have to pay, wouldn't have to be a nuisance. You know, I woke them up at 2 a.m, but, you know, I didn't, you know, they don't have to put money out of their pocket. I didn't have to put money out of my pocket to get the help that I needed. If that wasn't the case, I would be dead right now. I think a lot of people don't realize that when you are suicidal like that, you know, it's an effort just to stay alive, and any added effort of working to not feel that way sometimes is too much. And the pressure of knowing that you might have to go into debt to save yourself, you don't feel like you're worth it. And that's something I really want people to consider when they start learning about new insurance options, changing the insurance that we do have. It's not a perfect system. I'm aware, you know, there are a lot of flaws, but it saved my life. I would be tens of thousands of dollars in debt right now from just my first hospital stay, not even considering the most recent one, not considering the prescription drugs I've had to have. And I just think it's really important to say that. I think people need to hear that. I would be dead if I didn't have the insurance that I do. So that's my little tidbit of blunt awareness for Mental Health and Borderline Personality Disorder Awareness Month. All right. Well, I hope you guys are doing great. I'm getting by. I'm excited for this appointment tomorrow. I'm here if you need me. Okay, bye.